Hey, what's going on, everybody? So today we're gonna try to repair the kayak. I ended up getting a crack in the scupper hole on the inside. I do use the scupper cart. I was hauling it to the water down the walkway, and the right wheel ended up smacking the wooden curb there pretty hard, and I kind of had a feeling it might have cracked. And sure enough, when I got back on shore from my last fishing trip, I had about 4 to 5 gallons of water in there. So brought it home. Didn't even have to put water in it. I just took a look in there and found the crack. So let me show y'all what it looks like in here. I should be able to see that over here off to the right hand side, and then the left side looks good. We're going to be doing a repair on that today. I will not be doing the plastic welding. So a friend of mine recommended me another guy that has a lot of experience doing it. So I reached out to him, and he said he's more than glad to do it. So before we even get started, what we need to do is actually cut a hole in the rear hatch here to access those scuppers. And so I'm going to show y'all the hatch I picked up from West Marine, and we can get started, measure it up, start cutting the hole. So y'all stay tuned. So the hatch I ended up picking up from West Marine is this screw-in deck. Comes with an O-ring in there to keep it watertight, but it's supposed to be 6-inch on the inside. I measured it roughly at about 8 inches wide, so it's going to be a little tight in here with these grooves, but more importantly, when I cut the inside hole and I seal it, it should be good. There we go. When we install this, we're going to add silicone or some kind of marine sealant on the ends to get it seated in there. So as you can see, it's going to be a little bit tight. Might have a little bit of overhang on the ends, but that's all right. All right, so once we get this thing sized up here, I'm just going to take a marker and mark it all the way around here. Moved it just a tiny bit. Let's see what it looks like here. Not pretty. Let's see what that looks like. Looks like the lid is pretty much the perfect size here, so we're gonna redraw it here with the lid. Alright, so here we go. Alright, so we pulled out our fancy Dremel tool here. Alright, so when I cut it, I'm gonna be cutting on the inside of this thick line to make sure that that hatch is gonna fit nice and snug in here. If I need a little bit more room, I can change the tool up and just kind of wear that area down so that that hatch can sit in there. Alright, so there's our hole. Got our hatch here. It's looking a little snug, so alright, so we changed this to a round one, so we can wear some of this down and get that hatch in there. Alright, so there we go. That fits in there pretty snug the way I want it. So what we're gonna do here is sand this down a little bit, make it a little bit smoother, and then what we're gonna do is pack up and go pick up a couple things we need, probably screws, some sealant, and then we're gonna hit up our friend to see when he's gonna be available to weld this. He will be using the plastic from the kayak itself to weld that crack in there. So y'all stay tuned as we continue this work in progress. All right, y'all, so we made it over to my friend's house, Joe Rizzo. He's gonna hook me up and weld that for me. I would try to take this project on, but why not let somebody with some experience do it? So I'm gonna slide this camera up under here and let him get to work here shortly. Alright, so what he ended up doing there was kind of stopping that crack from spreading, melted that top point and that bottom point, and we're just letting it cool down before the procedure continues.
So I'm going to start from the bottom and go up. Just like you would if you were doing soldering, anything vertical or even welding, you always go down low. I'm not trying to weld it shut, I'm just getting it smoothed out, that way I can cake it and then it'll grab, but I'm trying to get it as thin as possible towards the inside of the crack. Because if you leave it really thick at the bottom and you throw a bead on top, it doesn't grab all the way through, it doesn't penetrate. Like in welding, you want to penetrate all the way through the back end of the metal.
Here's the circle piece that came out of that, and that's the material that we cut off, that he's using to cut melt in little sections, and then blocking it on there first. You should be able to see that. Kind of build up a little layer and then iron it on there. So he's cutting some little globs off of this stick of plastic that came off that circle hatch when we cut it out. Alright, so now I'm going to hit it with that flat iron to smooth out the layers of plastic that he put on there.
Man, that's looking good. I'm working the two triangle edges, always keeping it raised up. You know, as I'm moving up, I'm leaving a gap on the top surface that's being moved. That way it doesn't bite and start dragging plastic. That's just all from me doing it. Experience.
It's got the glare of that light on there, but that's looking pretty good.
I got sandpaper if you want to sand it down a little bit.
Nah, it's good. There it is, finished product. We just gotta take it on home and finish the hatch up, but that looks pretty good. Can't wait to get out and test it. Should be good. I'm happy I can get back on the water now. Today, gonna finish up the hatch and hopefully get it on the water and test this whole thing out. So before I start drilling, So in the package it said that this hatch came with an O-ring. It actually does. It's embedded in the hatch itself right here, this rubber piece in here. So if you do purchase this hatch, it does have the O-ring already pre-installed in here. So let's get started. So what we're going to do here is line up these holes to avoid sitting so close to the groove here. But I think what we're going to do is just going to hold this in place, drill 2 holes, insert the screws, and then do the other 4. So what I did was I picked up some marine sealant adhesive. Sure, I have the marine goop, which probably works almost as well, but this is more of a permanent solution. I definitely want to keep water out of here, mainly because water does come in through the scupper holes and it hangs out in this area, and the last thing I want is water leaking in through here. So we're going to try to go with a more permanent solution to keep that water out. Screws, I picked these up at my local hardware store. Marine grade stainless steel. Drop a screw right in there. Looks like I gotta waddle that. Try not to damage the, might need a little bit bigger drill bit. Satisfied with this. Alright, so let's line up with that hole. So I drilled that hole where it's snug enough for me to screw this into it. Will be less of a gap, but it still spins freely, but it'll be less of a gap, and it'll require less sealant to close it up. So let's go ahead and drill one on the opposite end. And we can do the rest here. Alright, so that's what it's going to look like. Let's pop these off. We'll add the sealant. Alright, so what we're going to do here is sand underneath it to make sure when the washer sits up under it, it's nice and flush. Since there's a little bit of some rough bottom down here and it'll sit uneven. Take our sandpaper, get up under it. So before we install this, we want to clean the area, make sure that that stuff's going to stick on there. So I'm just using some regular alcohol, and I'm just going to wipe this down. Get the underside as well. Nothing fancy. I'm sure there's better products, but that's what I got. So let's go ahead and seal this up. We also want to clean the this thing here. Make sure it's free of anything crazy. Let that dry for a couple seconds, then we'll apply this stuff. Won't need too much of it. Put a little bit around the bolts here. Whoa, crazy. Or not the bolts, around the holes. To clean up any excess that oozes out. Alright, so here we go, y'all. Drop this right in here. You can see it's oozing through those holes there. So alright, so what we're gonna do is clean this up before it dries. Don't want much white residue on my kayak. Let's get these screws and these washers and get them up under here. Alright y'all, so here we are, hatch installation complete. I got the scupper hole repaired, got this installed, screws tightened down, it's all sealed up, cleaned it up as much as I could. As you can tell, I got some sealant here on the inside of the scupper holes. That's just to put some in between the reinforcements and the kayak itself. I think it's just out of precaution to slow down any water in the event that maybe this side breaks, or if this side cracks again on the inside, then maybe it can slow down that water, because I did the underside as well. So hopefully we don't have any more issues, but can't wait to get on the water and test this out. All right y'all, so it's been about 3 hours since we put the hatch back on, and we're gonna take this thing out on the water for maybe about an hour or two, see if that weld is going to hold up in there, in case water does get in through that that reinforced black part. At least that weld is going to keep that water out. So I know y'all think I'm crazy for using the scupper cart again, but I trust that weld's going to hold. This is kind of a short-term solution for now. I'm going to probably order a Wilderness kayak cart, or Wilderness Systems kayak cart, and start just setting the kayak on top of that instead of using the scuppers, since kind of those scuppers are semi-compromised now. So let's get this thing to the water. I got minimal gear on there now, basically net, flag, grips, fishing line. I'll come back and get the rest of it and put it down. That way keep as much weight off of it as possible. So let's get this thing to the water and try and do some fishing today. Just finished putting that hatch on there about 3 hours ago. So I'm going to try to make a fishing trip out of this. I'm going to spend about an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours of fishing, and then come back and check inside the hole, make sure we're not getting any crazy amount of water. I'm sure I'll get a little bit of water in there through the rudder lines, or maybe in here through the hatch, through the seal. All right, I'm gonna tuck up behind this piling. I'm gonna do a water check. We're about an hour into the trip. Right now, pretty much dry, other than that water dripping in here. So I've got zero water in here other than what just dripped in here. Let me hit the reverse here. But if you can't see, pretty much looks good. I'm pretty sure that there will be no water in here at the end of the trip. Should be about another 30 minutes to an hour. Oh, come on. Don't get all wet now. Jesus. All right, y'all, we can take a look in here and see what it's like. Mostly dry in here. Just a little bit of the water from the hatch. We can open up the back and see what that looks like. Heck, even the front. Mostly dry, just a couple little drops in here. You can see that gets wet in there from water coming up over the bow. All right, so I can't open that hatch. It's pretty tight in there. What we'll do is open its rear one. You can see a little bit of water in here. Probably came in through the hatch here. Even though it's got an O-ring, these things do leak a little bit through here, but nothing crazy. So I'll probably get home, pop this hatch open, and I'll show you guys that repair in there. So this is what I'm talking about in here through the rudder lines. When that water comes up, it goes in through those rudder lines, and it gets inside the kayak. So the kayak's never going to be bone dry unless you're on a glass lake where there's really no wake or no waves. So let's get this thing loaded up. I'll pop open that rear hatch and give y'all one last look. All right, y'all, so we made it home. We managed to get this hatch open, and we got a little bit of water in here, but nothing concerning. I believe that's water that was coming in through the rudder lines, or even through one of the hatches here, as it got splashed over. Because if it was through that crack, believe me, there would be a lot more water in here. So there isn't much to be concerned, at least not on my end. To me, I'm gonna keep rolling with it. I'll give you guys an update here in a few trips, and let y'all know how this thing's holding up. But hopefully you find this helpful. If you find yourself in this situation and need to weld it, at least you know how to access those areas to get those scupper holes welded. So appreciate y'all tuning in and watching. Hopefully you found this video helpful. Catch y'all next time.